So you heard what all the speakers had to say, and I'm sure some of you have some burning questions. So all you have to do is raise your hand, and I'll look at you and say, please, what's your question? If you don't say it loud enough, I'll repeat it again. So anybody have questions? Yes.
How long will we be in pre-evacuation?
How long will we be in pre-evacuation? I just happen to have an expert. He magically appeared.
So pre-evacuation is one of those concepts where we just released the one on the Ridge Fire because they have a contingency line, and they told me that, the chances of that probability. I'll tell you where I'm at. First, I'm so thankful we got rain because I got to sleep for more than 6 hours. It was amazing. So the second part to answer that is, I think it's an evaluation on a day by day. So if we see this drying trend like they're talking about, I still kind of want everybody ready just in case this does get up. Again, pre-evacuation is to prepare anything that you feel like, having that mindset we do it. Again, we're gonna do everything we can, and you guys are to avoid that, but if we just want everybody kind of ready. Again, I always come back to it. I'd rather have more time to kind of think about this than less, and it also gives you time to prepare your home, and you guys get hopefully some information about how to do that, prepare for that. So to give a timeline, that's a tough one for me, but I'm hoping, that as we progress through this, these guys get some direct attack and some better information, maybe better weather. We can kind of look at that release. But again, I look at two functions, kind of what we talked about is if we have the multiple days that it's a possibility of getting into those types of structures, I'm going to leave them under that portion so you guys are always ready. And then if we kind of see some changes, for example, better contingent lines, they're able to cool that fire back several hundred yards into the fire quite a ways, and they kind of say, yeah, we're looking good here. Then we can kind of release those portions that won't be as effective as much. So, answer that question.
Any other questions for the sheriff while I have it up here with me? I don't, it's not serious. Any other questions for him? No, let him go stand up and do it again. All right, you're a free man.
All right.
All right. Any other questions? Fire questions? No?
Right here, in front, Jim.
Oh, right there, yes.
It was great to hear that guys are working at 24 hours a day and having night crews. Could you let me know, or let us know, where are the night
I
crews?
will ask Mandy to stand there. There you go. She'd like to know where the crews are working in the evening, the night shift.
So there's two operations going on with the night shift. There's several lines going in here, so we're trying to get the logs and the brush and stuff pulled out. So that's one operation, and they're pulling down these roads. There's two landings in here, and then we're evaluating on the Tally Lake side some landings down here. So they're pulling stuff out through there. The other part of that is we have several engines. So the work that the folks do during the day, we need to make sure that stays in check. So we have engines that are patrolling on all these roads, getting in lookout positions and making sure there's nothing that when the day crew comes on early that there's something to be surprised about. There's a hot spot, a blow, or something like that. The hard part with this fire, as we know, is not that the fire can't get you, it will, but it's the overhead hazards. The two dangerous things that kill firefighters every year is overhead hazards, trees, and driving. It's the most dangerous thing we do. We drive a lot of places, we travel all over the country, but trees continuously kill firefighters. And in this forest, it's got some of the most dangerous trees there are out there. We got the spruce, it's got the really weak root systems that go outward, they don't go into the ground, so when we burn that duff layer, the trees fall over. Same trees, they get cat face inside, you don't even see the backside, and these big trees that look sound, 80 feet tall, fall over. Sometimes even just with the wind and or the helicopters and or there's some sort of rod up there, the trees tops come out and fall down and kill people. So I don't feel folks real safe being next to the fire during the daytime. So it's more of a patrol action what they're doing during the night. But during the nighttime, and then during the day, the operation is getting crews in there, but we also have, either if we have shop crews, they have sawyers, but we bring in the falling modules, we call them contract sawyers, and they go in there and snag those areas ahead of the crew, so they have, try to mitigate those hazards. You can't mitigate them all, but try to make that area as safe as possible so they can get as close to the fire zone as possible. So again, there's two parts of that, hauling the stuff out and then controlling the fire during the night.
Did I answer your question? Thanks, Mike.
Don't leave.
Sounds like you might have better. What's your question?
On good weather days, how come the aircraft aren't up at 0600? Why do they wait till later in the day?
There's two parts to that. With all the fires going on, there's been a lot of aircraft shortages. It's just a fact. There's not enough firefighters in the U.S. There's not enough aircraft in the U.S. The aircraft are limited by hours. A pilot can only fly 8 hours a day. There is no going over that, and that's national policy. They can fly 8 hours a day. So when we're limited on aircraft, we haven't had a whole lot of available aircraft because the fire is going on around, Coeur d'Alene, Plains, Colt Fire, Ridge Fire, and go on and on. We're limited on the amount of aircraft we have here, even the swoopers and all that. So a lot of times we'll try to limit that because we know if the fire's going to start running and it's going to start hitting, those values at risk, we'll try to time those aircraft at certain times. So there are times they're not flying. A lot of times the pilots will fly late into the evening, and they got to travel and get some rest. A lot of them, the pilots themselves, a lot of times, what we do, we put them up in hotels. The firefighters at camp or in tents. So we have to just time that out when the pilots are rested in the aircraft, and we try to get those in the most important parts of the day. So if we flew them all the time, we'd be out of hours by 2 o'clock in the afternoon if we started at 6. So it's just trying to space those out.
Do you have a follow-up question? Shaking your head. You're good? Thank you. All right. Any other good questions? Or any questions? Yeah, Phil, tell me if you see anybody. There you go.
You guys have put out a couple of videos that have been really good. Are you going to continue doing that?
We will continue. Manny did one, I think today. We got one from Manny that talked about what was happening on the fire. As long as there's something happening, we'll provide those videos. I don't want people to be so bored. I'm not that he's not really, but we want to make sure that it's something that's new and different every single time. And then we also had Eric. He's been a star performer as well. He's been doing the fire behavior, and I think he's doing a really good job. Is there another discipline you want to hear from?
Manny's videos have been great, but I can tell you, every single person that's in the Good Creek area has been glued to Manny's videos when he puts them out. We've gotten no information from anybody except Manny.
On the videos that we're
Yes.
putting up
And
there.
then we have Lorana from the Kootenai, which I made contact with. So before Manny came along, she was our only information. We had nothing.
I know, I heard.
So if he wants to talk every single day,
He can.
listen to him.
He does have a following, so you're not alone.
We're his following.
We know his numbers. They're looking really good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. comment.
Thank you, Manny, for everything you've been doing.
And Eric. Yay, Eric.
Well, and so I would say that. Thank you very much. This is what I tell my firefighter. I'll stand up here. It's kind of like Cadillac, right? You got the Cadillac, and you got the real fancy emblem on front, and, shiny, and I try to wow with stuff. But I gotta say, it's the team. I started at the ground level, and I really love what I do. But you got to remember, it's the firefighters out there. They're the ones putting themselves in danger. But other than that, we need a whole team to do this, and Paul hit on that. I don't think people realize how many people it takes to do this job right here. So while I have a lot of experience, and I think it's my job to take the experience I've had over, this is my 32nd year at fire, I need to be in front and lead people and mentor them and stuff, but it takes a whole team, those firefighters. The reason I'm here is for the firefighters out there, so just remember that.
But even just like repeating himself, it keeps us off the road.
Yeah.
It keeps us from going
We will keep
and
it in line.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
Exploring
otherwise
ourselves.
we're gonna be up there, because I know your power line's more important, but you know what, I worked my entire life to build my house, that fire is not coming to my house. So if he wasn't talking, I'd be right up there,
We want to make sure we have Manny on the record.
Yeah,
we just don't want to be in your way.
Yeah,
but-
Sorry, Manny. We
but
got the
when-
same date at 8:30 every morning.
yeah, because if we're informed,
That we don't have to go out and explore for ourselves.
Well, one of the things for public information is reporting of information in a timely, accurate.
Yeah, it's
So,
been
we'll
great.
do that.
And I know it's an entire team, you can't do it by yourself,
But you understand
it's everybody in this room.
I understand. You
And
understand?
hundreds of others, so we understand that, but if the information isn't put out, then there's hundreds of us that we're gonna be anxious, angry, upset, happy,
We know that.
whatever. that
No,
might
mostly
be.
scared, we're scared that it's such a little wind change and then it's really smoky. It's like, okay, where's the smoke coming from? So then we want to go out and see where it's coming from.
And in Good Creek, we're like looking out at the bottom of the coffee can. You
I know,
we're
it's
in
very
the
tight.
bottom of the valley, so when we're socked in, we have no idea which direction it's coming from. Oh, well, Manny says. You know, it's coming from Canada.
Remember, we've got that information on Facebook for the Kootenai, Facebook,
Oh, yeah.
Instagram, you've got the sheriff posting stuff, you've got the county posting stuff, so you're blanketed, plus our trap line. So we are trying to feed you in every way we possibly
Well, the
can.
new team has stepped it up because you've got more people, we understand that.
Yeah.
So you've stepped it up. And we've got the whole network now because of Elon Musk with Starlink. So now we're all,
We're all dialed in.
yeah, we're being able to communicate. So whatever sheriff's department, fire, whoever, then we can then circulate it.
I live in a small town too. and I'm back-
Yeah, so,
actually not even-
but the new team, I have to say, the new team has stepped it up, so thank you for keeping all of us informed. So we
Okay.
do really appreciate it.
I'm glad that we're kind of hitting hard.
Yeah, you are. Now let's put the frickin' fire out. Have it snow, and make it snow, would you?
Have a nice weather back to talk to you.
And you know, like Mandy said, there's so much competition for resources. I'm sure even, I haven't seen the news, but I've been having people saying that knows about what's going on outside Spokane. That's tragic.
Yeah, that one,
That's
yeah.
tragic. And that's not the we're going to. So we all have shared the limited toys we have, whether it's aircraft or crews or whatever. So realize that we're trying to share it so that if your home is about to be hit, you can get a retardant plan or something. We're very lucky. Like Mandy said, triage. Any more questions?
I'm just curious where they've been getting water from, because for a while they were heading towards in the direction of Tally Lake, and then I saw a video where they were scooping at a Dickey Lake.
Manny?
Yeah.
He's in charge of their house.
Yeah, that's anywhere they can. Luckily about this area is they don't have to go too far to find water. I know the helicopters, there's some areas in here they've been dipping out of. There's areas around that fire where there's pooling of the streams and stuff, so the helicopters, they have really long lines. I think they're at least 150 feet long, so they can get right into those canyon V-bottoms and dip in there. It's pretty cool to watch. And then as everybody knows, they've been dipping out of Dickey Lake. Even I was like rubbernecked watching them scoop. It's pretty cool. But yeah, and again, those guys have been doing an amazing job. The winds the other day, when I talk about those planes, they're an amazing piece of machinery. The new CL415s, they've totally rebuilt them. They got a huge wingspan, the lift on those things, they're turboprop engines. But when you see them coming in and they look like a little paper airplane and they're getting bucked around, you know the winds are they're probably getting airsick themselves, the pilot. So they did an amazing job. They pushed it right to the limit. Yeah, kudos to those guys. You know, that they want to stop this thing and get it set. The other guy that's we call Air Attack, he flies up above and he does coordination of the airspace, just like the guys on the ground coordinate where the engines and all the crews are going. The Air Attack stays above the airplane and he coordinates where they're dropping. And he had enough cell coverage up there. He was continuously sending me pictures, telling me exactly where the spots were up here. He was doing an amazing job. And there's several that go around. The guy that I was talking to, Benji Haig, he's out of Missoula, a really good guy. So, yeah, it's a cool team, like behind the scenes. It's just, I can't give the folks kudos.
What does different colors indicate on the other map?
The colors?
This is a progression map. If you look on here, it shows the dates when the fire started, and then as each day goes by, how it went. And so when I was talking about when what's worst case scenario, we have those winds except, you know, it chunked in here for a while. The teams were doing really, previous teams were doing really well to keep it in check, but it just kept wanting to push, And then when the winds hit, this is later in time, it started making these long runs. So again, we started looking at worst case scenario. Fire did this yesterday. What's tomorrow's forecast? Okay, we're looking at 40-mile-an-hour winds. We know we have a long burn period. What are we looking at? What's in front? I'm going to take this. I'm going to look at that. That's my worst case scenario. As we know, when we start looking at Moose Fire, all the big fires here in the past, Wedge Fire, Roberts Fire. It's not uncommon for these things to make a 5-mile run in heavy timber. So we have to start looking at that. And that's kind of what we were looking at. Where's the highway? We gave a 5-mile buffer. And that was our final, okay, it's time to get everybody out. Start thinking about, triage. The railroad was super awesome. They brought in their big rail cars, pumper cars. They were basically giving us anything we wanted to protect that corridor. So it's super cool to see people how they get together. But this is kind of a cool map to look at and see how it progresses through time.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, I noticed that we are going to go back up into like 90 degrees.
Yeah.
What's the longer term forecast?
Would you like to? We have a one.
That was 5 questions in. Okay. First, my name is Jason Stroud. I'm a meteorologist assigned to this fire. So the forecast for the next month is pretty similar to what we've been seeing recently. The main high pressure that's in the area is stuck over Texas, Louisiana. They've had all the heat, it's stuck there. So the high pressure stays there, so the moisture then wraps around that, and in this case it's wrapping around it through the Great Basin into western Montana. So we are expecting for the next month that pattern will not change much. So we will see daily possibility of showers and thunderstorms. It's not going to be a large deluge like we saw yesterday. We don't have any big hurricanes coming in. That was an unusual event. But we will see the moisture. Since the high pressure is staying to our south and east, that's going to keep our temperatures from really soaring, really drying out, so we're not looking at upper 90s, 100-degree temperatures again like we saw for a while previously. But it will get warm. It is still summer. So we will see temperatures in the 80s, maybe approaching 90 again, but nothing significantly hot and dry like we've seen.
How about
Thunderstorms. So this time of year, when we have moisture coming in from the southwest, it's common for thunderstorms to develop on the higher elevation, and that's going to continue. We've still got the moisture coming in. We've still got moisture sitting around from the tropical system yesterday. So there is the chance for thunderstorms pretty much every day. A good example is what happened today. We had little thunderstorms here and there. If any of you saw what happened in Kalispell this afternoon, they had one big thunderstorm pop up right over the airport, and then it fell apart right on the airport. Kalispell Airport had a wind gust of 65 miles per hour, had 3/4 inch size hail, and they got 1/2 inch rainfall in 10 minutes. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that these little storms could produce gusty winds, heavy rainfall in little spots, but that is a day-to-day forecast that we need to watch out for. But yes, thunderstorms are still a threat for the next month.
Any more other questions?
Do you still anticipate the winds would push the fire east? Or I know you're not Mother Nature, but
I am in the forecasting business, not the production business. So, as with the high pressure where it is, the general forecast for winds will generally be from the southwest to the northeast. That's what the general trend of the winds will be through the next couple weeks. There may be a couple days where we might see some gustier winds, but it does look like most everything will stay away from us for a while. That is not to say that we won't see anything like the cold fronts we have seen. We did see the one cold front come in a couple days ago, and the winds shifted from the north and east. and that brought all the smoke back in from Canada. So that one day when it was dense, that was the north winds coming in. But the general flow is still generally from the south and west, and will continue that way at least, probably for at least a month. We're still in the middle of summer.
The storm coming in from the Gulf into Texas,
Right.
is that going to bring anything?
The forecast for that is to go straight north into Oklahoma and New Mexico, and then just curve back into the Central Plains. So we won't see any of that moisture.
Any more questions for the weather? Good job, thank you. Any more questions on fire or any other topic?
I have an online question.
Oh, we have one online question.
Yep, it's about power. Is there still a threat of the power being turned off? And then there's another person asking about the power station. If you take out power for only Stryker to Eureka.
Melissa, do you want to tackle that one? I told you we had all kinds of people in sideways.
Melissa Brandon with Lincoln Electric. So I put it out there quite frequently. The only way we would turn off electricity, us or Bonneville Power, is if we're asked in the interest of safety, either of the public or the firefighters, to turn off power. If it becomes a hazard in some way for that power to be on, then we would shut it off. We don't have any plans to do so unless that's requested. We do have a substation near Olney. From what I understand from fire behavior and predictions, we're not overly concerned about that substation. It's something that we would evaluate as the situation progresses. That answered the question. Is that it? Came from?
Thank you.
I don't know, should the power be severed or the fire hit it, is everything south of it still gonna be served, or is it, at what point, how far down does it get?
So the way that Bonneville line, transmission line goes is it does feed our entire system, so it would take the entire system out for a period of time. Then Bonneville would be able to do some switching in that Stillwater substation and turn everything south of Olney back on. And theoretically, depending on where the fire is, up Good Creek in that area. And just, I've been in touch with Bonneville quite a bit, and they do have materials in their yard ready to go in the event of worst case. Like Manny said, you hope for the best, you plan for the worst.
Thank you. And we have another question in here.
Yeah, I was just curious, where it says Division K up there, there's kind of a giant oval of, looks like fire lines. I was just wondering what the thought process is on that.
Oh, well, you're talking about the arced lines? Like these lines?
Yeah, right in there, there's a big oval. And what's the reasoning there?
So what those represent is lines, roads that we've gone and fuel breaks on. So we've gone in there with feller bunchers and we've widened those roads out. We've gone up on the banks and we pulled those trees out. Again, hoping for the best, planning for the worst. We got to start thinking of contingency. You know, these are our primary lines, but what are our alternate, lines we're going to put in there? So we started looking at bigger. If this thing starts spotting and moving, we have to have all this stuff has to do with time and space, right? So we know to get this clipped, it's going to take us anywhere from 3 to 7 days. So we'll go in here and start getting this figured out at the same time getting this figured out. So that's what you're looking at here. They've widened this road out. They've put a line between these two roads right here, and then they've come in here. Same thing, these are some lines they put in, but the fire got burned over. What this doesn't represent is what they're doing in here already. There's already some lines in here that we don't have quite on here yet. But there's already some lines in here. They've opened up these roads. We have a big pump station in here, and then these roads again, they're opening up. And they're already starting to go in here with crews from 75 punch in off of these roads in here. So a lot of work going on out there, but yeah, that's what that represents. You always got to be thinking a little bit bigger box.
So what do you feel is the potential for that fire moving further east on the point?
What's the potential to burn further east?
Right here?
Okay.
It's got potential. Yeah, absolutely. As you know, being out there, I mean, these hills are steep. It's funny, yesterday, I don't have to take too much time here, but I had gone out with one of the divisions, we jumped in his UTV, and we drove down this road. I think it was 2006, 2007, but we came out on this point right here, and it was kind of one of those, like, I've been here before. I had burned this unit years ago, and I remember it, we lit it, and it was one of those burns, you know, they'd logged it, and then we went in and burned the slash out of it, but it was very troublesome. We were bringing the lines down, and we just basically let the fire back on its own, because every time, you know, a tree would burn, it rolled down, and it would just keep, you know, propagating itself down below. This is some really steep country in here. So it's difficult. But what is more difficult is what's in front of this right here. This is LeBeau, right? We're all familiar with LeBeau. Jerry brought it up the other night. We do not want the fire in here, because there is no, we talk about opportunity, looking for opportunity. I know for a fact there's no opportunity in here. There's no roads, it's cliffs, it's ugly country. So while we're going as aggressive and direct as we can in here, we're already looking here and here, because we do not want this fire to go east, because we know it has potential. I'm not gonna lie to you, it can. So, even talking with these folks, we got them in here, they're doing good work in here, but last night we were talking about even making mini search forces within here. So keep mopping this up, because that needs to be, we talked about that. If we can get in 50 feet, 100 feet in and get that mopped up, this is gonna hold longer. But if we can, and these guys start having problems, we'll start dumping all the folks in here and start putting them in the front and getting that taken care of. Absolutely, this does have potential. I don't like this in here either, all this stuff. Every little piece there has a perimeter around it. When you start throwing all these little spots, that's a lot of line you have to contain. So we're keeping an eye on this and right in here as well. And that's where most of our scuba actions are, the airplanes and the helicopters, all in this area right now. There is a couple back here just to make sure to help those guys out, but most of our actions are right there.
A lot of moving parts. Any more questions? You guys have been an awesome group, and I want you to know that we will be here on the maps. If you have questions, please ask. So thank you again. The school's been awesome. You guys have been awesome. Thank you. Have a good night. Be safe going home.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.